So this year was not the best year for me. There were certain things that happened this year that just were not that great, but obviously it could be a lot worse. And during this time of year, in late December, so the holiday season, I tend to reflect a lot on the year and think about how everything went. And I tend to be a bit critical on myself and a bit hard on myself. So what I'm going to do differently starting this year is I'm going to reflect on the whole year, but I'm going to make sure to acknowledge good things that happened to me this year. Because something that I have learned about myself is I tend to hold on to negative emotions longer than positive ones. So when good things happen to me, I sometimes forget that they even happened because I don't take the time to acknowledge it. So what I'm going to do is for this year, I am going to just give a summary on what happened to me every single month of this year. And as I said at the beginning, this year overall was not the best, but obviously there were good things that happened to me this year. I just need to take the time to acknowledge it. So this might be a bit of a longer video, and I don't really expect anybody to really watch this. Again, the only reason why I make these videos is so that I can look back at them when I get older. But if you do happen to be watching, if you are curious to know what happened to me this year, I think you'll learn a lot about me if you listen to this. Again, I don't really expect anybody to, but if you are, thank you. Feel free to grab a snack and listen/watch me talk about this year of 2025. So right in front of me, I have this notebook and I wrote down talking points for every single month. So the rule is for every month, I need to acknowledge at least one good thing. Okay. So let's start with January of 2025. Honestly, I have nothing for this month, which is a good thing. Nothing really bad happened. Kind of just living my normal life, and at the time, life was good. I had nothing to complain about. So January is fine. And that's going to be the shortest recap for this video. So moving along to February of 2025. I would say the first half of the month was all right. I celebrated Valentine's Day for the first time ever in my life, and for me, that's a really great accomplishment. Honestly, I didn't think I would ever be able to celebrate it with someone, but this year I did. And I mean, we didn't do anything special. I just went out to dinner, but it still felt nice, and I'm glad I got to experience it. The day after, me and my partner at the time went on a trip to Utah. So this was a skiing/snowboarding trip. I did skiing, she did snowboarding. Now, that morning before the flight, I visited my grandfather in the hospital, in the emergency room. My grandfather was dealing with, I guess for the last, couple years, he had been dealing with several different health issues, and my dad he was always checking up on him, taking him to doctor's appointments, taking him in and out of the hospital, and I decided to go visit him before I went on my flight to Utah. I don't remember exactly what the issue was this time, that specific day that I visited him, but my dad mentioned to me that he was having like hallucinations and he was seeing things. And when I went to go visit him, some of our other family members were there, and my grandfather is just sitting in the hospital bed, and he doesn't look great, and he all of a sudden he starts crying. I think he's having another hallucination. And I look over to my dad, and my dad is on the side of my grandfather's bed. My dad is standing there, and when he sees my grandfather, having this like hallucination, my dad kind of just turns around, and I look over to my dad, and it looks like he's like about to cry, but it looks like he's holding back his tears, maybe because, I'm in the room, there's other people in the room. And me personally, seeing my parents cry in general is one of the hardest things for me. I just hate seeing it. So on my way back home after visiting my grandfather, while I'm driving in the car, I just break down and start crying. And it's really hard to see my parents cry. And seeing my grandfather in that condition, it was really tough. And I started crying in the car. Later in the day, I, went to the airport, and we were flying out to Utah. Now, we had one layover, I believe it was Denver, Colorado. Now, the flight got delayed by like an hour or two. And then once we got onto the plane, before we were about to take off, there was another delay. And by the time we landed into Utah, it was past midnight, maybe like 1:00 in the morning. And I'm going to, the baggage claim, and my partner at the time, she got her stuff. I'm still waiting on my stuff. And a couple of minutes go by, and no more luggage is coming out. So I go to the United desk, and I ask them, where is my bag? So they looked up my, how on the luggage tags, they have like the codes or the barcodes, whatever, and they needed that information. They looked up my luggage, and they're like, yeah, it never got on the plane, so it's still in Denver. And I'm like, oh, okay. What the heck? Keep in mind, this is maybe even 2:00 in the morning, and I'm tired, and when I get tired, I get a little pissed off. So I was like, okay, so when is it gonna come? And they're like, we'll try to get it here as soon as possible, but we're just gonna have to deliver it to your hotel. And I'm like, oh my God. So that was really annoying, because that had pretty much all of my clothes and my toiletries in there. So that was really annoying. And then after that whole situation, I had to go get the rental car. So keep in mind, we're going to Utah for a skiing/snowboarding trip. So before the trip, I made a reservation for a all-wheel drive SUV. Now I wait in line for Enterprise. I'm going to say the name because I'm going to, call this company out. I wait in line for Enterprise and I go to the desk and I'm like, yeah, I have my reservation. Here's my name. And they're like, yeah, so we don't have any all-wheel drives. We have no SUVs. All we can give you right now is a sedan. So I'm pretty upset hearing this, and I tried not to express my anger too much, but I kind of I had my bag, my duffel bag, and I just threw it on the ground, and I was pretty upset. And I'm like, what the heck? I made a reservation and you're telling me you have no SUVs, you have no all-wheel drives. And the worker was giving me attitude, and she's like, well, that's all we have is a sedan, so take it or leave it. What do you want to do? And in that moment, I'm just so pissed off, and I'm like, okay, well, me getting even more pissed off, it's not going to change anything. So I'm like, all right, I guess I'll just take the sedan. And, they told me that once I can drive back to the airport the next day and, hopefully more cars will come in and I can switch the car out. But still, that's just freaking annoying. So that whole situation of me not getting my luggage and not getting the correct car on the first day. And at this point, it's 2:00 in the morning. Once we get to the hotel, it's closer to 3 a.m. And I just am so upset. I'm so tired. And I was pretty unhappy. Now, the thing is with Utah, it's a very beautiful state, specifically where we stayed in Salt Lake City, downtown Salt Lake City. Absolutely beautiful. You're surrounded by the mountains, and when it's snowing, you see the snow on the top. It looks beautiful. So the highlight for February is just admiring the scenery of Salt Lake City. Very beautiful. Now, once we start actually skiing and snowboarding, on the very first day, on the very first run, I break my leg. What happened was as I was going down, it was very fast. I couldn't control myself, and I tumbled, and the side of my leg pressed against the boot very hard, and I couldn't I couldn't get up. I was laying on the ground, and I don't know if this is very I don't know what the word is, very pretentious, but no one really came to help me. I was kind of pissed off about that. There was one guy who came down and he was like, oh, yeah, let me help you get up. Let me help you put your foot back into the ski, cause it came off. And I'm as I get up and trying to stick my foot in, I'm oh my God, my leg is in a lot of pain. I can't, I think I just need to walk down. So, in hindsight, I didn't know at the time that my leg was broken, but I walked down the slope, and it took me nearly 30 minutes. It wasn't even that far. But this whole time, there's people going down, and no one is asking me if I'm okay. I don't know if again, I know if that sounds, I don't know if it's pretentious, if that's the right word, but no one was checking on me. I just thought that was kind of weird, because I feel if I was in the situation where I'm skiing and I see someone on the ground or someone walking, I feel I would ask them what's going on. That's just me. But again, not everybody is as considerate as I am. So I walked down, and my partner at the time was waiting for me, and she was oh, are you good to keep going? And I'm I'm probably done for the day. My leg is in so much pain. And she's like, okay, well, I'm going to keep going. And I was like, yeah, well, I'm going to go to there's like a clinic at the resort. So I go there, and the guy was like, oh, yeah, we can give you like a scan here. You know, I can like give you an ice pack. We can take you to a hospital, but you know, that's going to cost like, you know, money, because like we'll need to bring up an ambulance and stuff. And I'm like, I mean, I guess I'll just take an ice pack for now. So he's like, okay, 1 second. He goes outside, and he comes back in. He just has a bag of snow, and he just hands it to me. I thought that was kind of funny. So at this point, you know, I have the snow in my hand, and I'm like, all right, screw this. Like, I try to walk to the car, and that takes another like 30 or so minutes. And at this point, I just know, like, okay, like, I think I need to go to an actual, like, urgent care. I need to go to an actual doctor. And so, you know, I tell my partner at the time, and I'm like, yeah, like, I need to go get this checked. I'm in a ton of pain. And, you know, my partner's like, oh, okay, yeah, like, well, hopefully it's fine. And like, hopefully you're good to ski again, like tomorrow. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, my leg hurts. Like I'm done for. So we go to the urgent care, and the lady who was helping me, she wasn't an actual doctor, but she was like, yeah, like, let me take a look. I don't think you need like an x-ray or anything. I think you just need to take some pain medication and you're good. And I was like, no, I'm in a lot of pain. Give me that x-ray. And she was like, okay. And she comes back, and she's like, oh, yeah, it looks like you actually fractured your fibula. And I'm like, you idiot. How do you have a job here? But yes, I broke my leg. I fractured my fibula. And this is my first time ever, like, breaking a bone. And I was really scared and sad. And I was like, oh, my goodness, like, I'm going to I broke my leg. I'm in so much pain. What's going to happen? So the urgent care, like, gave me the x-ray, and then they told us to, you know, go to an actual orthopedic the next day. So we went to the orthopedic doctor the next day, the clinic, I should say, and they looked at it, and, you know, they told me, you know, it's probably going to heal back in 6 weeks. You don't need any surgery, but, you know, obviously are going to have to wear a cast, and, you know, you can't drive, you can't walk on it. So, you know, we'll put you in the cast first, and then maybe in a week or so you can move to like a boot. So I'm all in a cast, and I can't walk. I'm on the crutches, and, you know, when we get back to the hotel that we were staying at, we had to move to like a handicap room. So I had to go in like a shower where like I can like sit. And it was really painful. But I will say my partner at the time was extremely helpful. She did not complain about anything, and she was extremely supportive. And yeah, she was great. I will give her that. Now, we decided to fly home early. You know, the day that I broke my leg, I called my family, and my mom immediately like got upset. And I know this is kind of going into a different topic, but she was getting very upset with me about the situation. And then my dad was like, you know, concerned, and, you know, my sister was on the call, And my mom immediately is like, okay, like you guys need to come home like right now. And my dad is like, oh, like, yeah, I'm going to look up flight information. Like, let's see if you can like get home like tonight or tomorrow. And I'm like, guys, like, please, like, just stop freaking talking. Like, I am in so much pain. And I have like my partner here. Like, I don't know. Like, I was just upset at the fact that like, I tell my parents that I break my leg and their first immediate response is like, okay, like come home immediately. Like, I don't know. I did not appreciate that. So we ended up, you know, changing our flight to a day earlier, and we flew home. And I don't know if anybody has gone on a plane where you have a broken leg. It's not fun. It is not fun sitting in a plane with a broken leg. And it's annoying when there are people that are constantly getting up to use the bathroom. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I know I shouldn't be talking because I have a small bladder myself. I have to pee often, but like, oh my God, like some people just kept getting up and I had to move out of my seat. It was so annoying. But anyways, I come back home and I stayed at home for about a week, and my parents were super helpful, super supportive. Like my mom was, cooking for me, and my dad would have to help me like get into the bathtub. So yeah, they were very helpful, and my mom got me a knee scooter, so that was that was kind of fun to ride around in. Okay, so that is the month of February. That was pretty long. Okay, so March. Let's go into March. So March, obviously, I am still injured. I'm still in my boots, can't walk, can't drive, and being injured sucked. There were many days where I felt kind of useless because I couldn't walk. And at this point, like, I was back in my apartment because I only wanted to stay at my parents' place for a week. They wanted me to stay longer, but I told them no, I want to be on my own. So I'm back home in my apartment here. And I don't remember when this was exactly, but let's just say this was like maybe like mid-March. It was around mid-March. At the time, me and my partner got into one of the, in my opinion, one of the biggest arguments. I'm not going to go into too many details on what exactly happened, like what exactly we were talking about, what exactly we were arguing about, I should say, but it was pretty bad. And in that moment, it made me realize, like, I started to think about the relationship in general, and I really started to think about, what value does this person bring into my life? And frankly, I couldn't really think of anything. And I think in that moment, that was kind of like, I would say when things started to go downhill for us. And so I was really beginning to question the relationship, the person, questioning myself, like, am I happy? Am I really happy to be with this person? And I think I was starting to realize that maybe I'm not. So we had this really big argument. I was injured. The one good thing that came out of March was that I started to replay Skyrim. Now, Skyrim is my favorite game of all time. I played it when it first came out in 2011. I replayed it a second time in 2020 on the PlayStation 4 during the COVID pandemic lockdown. And then fast forward 5 years, I started to replay it on my Switch. And it was really fun to play it on the Switch because I could play it as a handheld and I can also play it docked to the TV. And, me being injured, I couldn't go to the gym. I couldn't go rock climbing. I was, inside most of the time. So I decided to pick the game back up. And in Skyrim specifically, and if anybody is a fan of the game, it's the kind of game where it just feels very immersive and the game just helps me escape. It helped me escape the feelings of it made me forget that, I'm injured. I have a broken leg. It made me not think about the arguments that I was having with my partner. This game helped me get through those tough times. So, playing Skyrim was my highlight for March. Now let's move on to April of 2025. So, things with my partner were not going so well. And then there was one day we had another fairly big argument. And, in my opinion, there was two things that we generally argued about. But one of them in particular, she just kept bringing it up. And it got to a point where I felt that she became very toxic. And, we were having this argument. She was being toxic, and I was becoming very unhappy. And I remember the day we were having this argument, I dropped her off at her house and I was going to meet up with some other friends, and on my way, during the drive on my way to meet my friends, there was this voice in my head that was telling me, break up with her. It's time to end it. You need to just remove this person from your life. And so the next day, I had to do the hardest thing that I ever had to do, and that was to end the relationship with my partner at the time. And the reason why this was so hard for me is because this was my first ever serious relationship. This was the first time I ever fell in love. This is someone where, we were pretty good friends before we started dating. So we were friends first, and then we, became a couple. And having to do that was really hard. Even though I was the one to initiate that conversation of breaking up, I still think it was mutual because we both knew that we were both unhappy. And again, I'm not going to go into too many details on why things ended, but for me, I think it really just came down to us not seeing eye to eye in terms of our core values. I feel that, if I were to be in a relationship again, if I were to date someone, I really believe that me and that other person need to be on the same page about everything if we want to be together forever. So that's my mindset when it comes to dating. So, the relationship ended, and I was going through so many emotions. I was depressed, I was angry, I was sad, I was heartbroken. I felt guilt because I felt bad that I couldn't change for this person, even though I loved her a lot. And I just felt like I failed the relationship, and I felt like I could have done better. And there was a lot going through my mind, and it was hard for me to focus. It was hard for me to just do very basic things in life. It was hard for me to get out of bed. It was hard for me to eat food. I would be hungry, but I couldn't eat. It was really hard for me to take care of myself during this time. And I feel like for a lot of people, or no, let me rephrase this. I feel like for a lot of guys, if they go through a breakup, they either like become like an alcoholic, they drink a lot, or maybe they'll start hitting the gym more. Maybe they get addicted to video games. For me, it was getting really into video games. Maybe like a week after I ended the relationship, I bought a Steam Deck. The Steam Deck was a console that I had been wanting to get for a while, and I figured, you know what? I'm going to have a lot more free time. I'm also going to have a bit more money now. I think buying a Steam Deck will make me feel better. So I bought the Steam Deck, and I was right. It did make me happy. So I was able to play games that I wasn't able to play on my Switch. And it was great. I was really happy with the purchase. So my highlight for April is buying the Steam Deck. Okay, May of 2025. So, I'm still thinking about my ex nearly every second of the day. And I started to see a therapist. I've seen a therapist before. The first time I tried it, it was virtual. And I'll be honest, I don't think it was that helpful. I didn't appreciate it that much because I came in with the wrong attitude. I came in with the wrong mindset. This time around, I approached therapy knowing what to expect and being realistic. And this time I tried someone that was in person. So I went in person to see this therapist, and I realized I liked it a lot more than doing it online. So I started to see a therapist, and I'm really happy about that. And I still see this therapist to this day. So I've been working with this person for over 6 months now, and I'm very happy to be doing it. Now that I have more free time on my hands, I'm trying to spend more time with my friends, because I feel like for me, when I was in my relationship, because I was spending so much time with my partner, I wasn't able to hang out with my friends as much. So I wanted to really prioritize, hanging out with friends. May is also the month of my birthday. I turned 28 in May, and my birthday falls on Memorial Day weekend, and I had a 4-day weekend. I had that Monday and Friday off, or I should say that Friday and Monday off. Originally, the plan was for me and my, ex-partner to do something together. that weekend. We were going to go somewhere and celebrate my birthday. But now I didn't have any plans. So I just did a solo trip to Blacksburg, Virginia. I did ask a couple friends if they wanted to go with me, and none of them said yes. I guess some of them were busy. So it's not their fault. But I just figured I should try to ask some people if they want to go on this trip with me. So I decided to just go alone. I feel very weird on my birthday. I don't really like to celebrate my birthday. I just like to treat it like it's any other day. And I chose Blacksburg because I went to college there. So I visited my old college, and I hadn't visited since I graduated in 2019. I hadn't been back there in over 6 years, and when I went onto the campus, it felt weird because there were so many new buildings that they were constructing, and there were some parts that I didn't recognize, but then I was walking through the campus, and, it kind of just, it took me back to simpler times, I should say. I started college over 10 years ago, and obviously a lot has changed in the last 10 years of my life. And, just walking through the campus, it just made me think about my college memories and things like that. So, it was really fun. I did make a video, and I uploaded it the day of my birthday, but shortly after I took it down. It felt a bit too raw. It felt too personal, and I didn't want it to be public anymore. I still have it, uploaded. It's privated, but I don't know if I'm going to make it public again. Not anytime soon. But overall, the trip was fun. I was there for like 2-3 days, so it was a pretty short trip. So moving on to June of 2025. At this point, my leg is pretty much fully healed. I'm starting to climb again, and I'm happy about that. I joined a new climbing gym, and this was like a pretty big thing for me because the last climbing gym that I went to, I was there for like over 2.5 years, and I made a lot of good memories there, but the gym kind of went downhill a bit. I felt like the quality of the gym was just not as good, and a lot of my friends moved to this other gym, so I decided to jump ship and join this other gym that everybody else was going to. So I joined this new gym, and I'm happy about it, and at this point, I started to take my health a lot more seriously. I tried to start running. I bought a pair of like Hoka shoes, and I was, trying to jog on the treadmill. I also started to eat a lot more healthier. I tried to really minimize the added sugars, the sodium intake, and, trying to do more clean ingredients and being more intentional with my food and limiting the amount of takeout that I get. So I made a lot of changes with my health, and I was very happy about that. Again, this is also June, so it's, the weather is a lot nicer, and, trying to be more social and hang out with friends. I attended a Nationals game, and I don't love baseball, but baseball is something where I'm trying to get more into, and going to a live baseball game is really, really fun. Just like the overall atmosphere is super fun. So I'm glad I got to do that. The NBA Finals was also happening during this month, and I got to hang out with friends and watch it. I had friends come over to watch the final game at my apartment, and it was definitely heartbreaking. I don't like the Oklahoma City Thunder. Can't stand the Shea guy. Can't stand him. He did not deserve to win the MVP. It should have been Jokic. But anyways, just hanging out with friends. I celebrated my friend Jed's birthday. We went to an escape room, and Jed is one of my closest friends, and being able to celebrate his birthday was extremely fun. The day after my friend's birthday, my grandfather, the one that, how I mentioned, I visited him in the hospital back in February, he died. Now, it definitely did feel sad, but at the same time, it kind of felt, I don't know if relief is a good word in this situation, but he was going through so much pain and suffering. So, he died peacefully, so that felt comforting. I don't know if comforting is the right word. I don't know the right word to use in this scenario, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that in a way, I'm glad that he doesn't have to suffer anymore. So July, that's when, the funeral for my grandfather happened, and, it was a pretty small service. It was basically just like direct family, and, it was definitely pretty sad. But, other than that, I'm still just keeping myself occupied. I'm trying to hang out with friends. Overall, I'm pretty happy. And, this is only July. So April, May, June, July. So this is like 3 months after the breakup. I'm still thinking about her like every single day. Like, she's just always on my mind. Just thinking about how she's doing. Because, we agreed, we wouldn't really talk to each other, even though we have a lot of mutual friends. So I'm still just thinking about her, just hoping she's doing all right, and just wishing her nothing but the best. Because let me just clarify, even though I feel like the relationship was really bad and there was certain things that was pretty toxic, I still wish her the best. I still hope that she can, find a better partner. I hope she can be happy, But anyways, just keeping myself occupied. I went to a Keshi concert. That was really fun. Keshi is one of my favorite artists of all time, and I got to see him live, and I was very happy about that. The last thing I want to point out for July is that I started to play Stardew Valley. Now, I bought Stardew years ago. The first couple times I played it, I could not get into it. I didn't understand why so many people were in love with this game. I decided to give it another try, and I got hooked. So, shout out to Stardew Valley for kind of carrying me throughout the summer, helping me just not think about my ex. And I had a lot of fun playing it. Okay, August of 2025. The highlight for August is I went on a trip to Seattle. I visited my sister out there. And I usually visit Seattle every year, usually in the summertime. And normally in the summertime, Seattle is beautiful, but when I was there, the weather kind of sucked. It was cold and it was rainy, very gray and just dreary. So that kind of sucked. Not only because I don't like cold and rainy weather, but just from like a filming content perspective, like, just like being able to film like, Seattle, and it's nicer to film places when it's nice and sunny out compared to when it's like cold and dreary and rainy. But I still, filmed and made a video from it. But it was still fun. I went to Olympic National Park for the first time. We went salmon fishing. So it was still a great time. And I'm glad that I went. Other than that, just continuing to play Stardew, playing games, reading manga, just doing things that I love to do. So September, so at the beginning of September, it's Labor Day. So like August, the end of August, beginning of September is Labor Day weekend. I went on a bachelor party in Atlantic City. And this is for one of my closest friends named Noah. When I came back home from that trip, I felt kind of depressed. And the reason why is because that was genuinely the most fun I had in a very long time. Probably like for like all of 2025. Because I feel like up until that point, like the year kind of sucked. It was the most fun I had ever had because like, it was like me and, the bachelor Noah and some of our closest friends. We were all together hanging out. On this trip, we got to see Jimmy O Yang. We got to see Tiesto. So we had a lot of fun activities planned, and it was a great time. We also celebrated my dad's birthday party. It was supposed to be in... Wait, was it September? I don't know. It was... Sorry. It was either August or September. I celebrated my dad's birthday party. And that was fun. I attended another concert. His name is Huang. I went with my good friend, Jehu. The concert was fun. The only thing is that the concert started at 10 o'clock at night, and by the time I got back home, it was like 2 a.m. And this is like a Thursday night, so I had to work the next day. And it was a pretty small venue in DC, and a lot of the people there I'm assuming, were like college students. And in that moment, I was like, man, like, I think I feel kind of old. Because like my whole body started to ache. It was getting sore just from like standing up. And like, there's all these like college kids and they're all rowdy and stuff. And I'm like, man, like I can't do this. And I'm tired. I want to go home and go to sleep. But it was still a fun concert. But this month I did a lot of social things. I was hanging out with friends, doing stuff like going bowling, going to a driving range, Top Golf, doing karaoke, and all of this stuff is just so much fun for me. And I'm glad I was able to do all of this because around this time, I was very stressed out at work. There was that month in particular is generally like one of the busiest times in my line of work. So it was really busy, and I kind of knew that I was going to get laid off. it wasn't like official, but like me and like a lot of my coworkers, we knew that, it's gonna happen. So just thinking about that was really stressful. So being able to hang out with friends was really nice to do. So now we are in October of 2025. Again, work is still pretty busy. It's stressful. I bought the game called Power Wash Simulator. That became easily my favorite game of this year. I put in nearly 50 hours in like the first week or two of me playing it. It's very addicting. I took some trips. I took a weekend trip to Shenandoah, Virginia, did some hiking there. I went to Dallas with some of my college friends, and that was really special to me because the college friends that I went with, we had always talked about going on a vacation together, and we just in the past we just weren't able to kind of like get our schedules lined up, but we were able to make it happen. So that was a great time. The day I came back from that Dallas trip, that's when I find out that I officially am going to get laid off. So I didn't get laid off until the beginning of November. So now we're moving into November. I get laid off on November 7th. That was my last day. And then the very next day, I go to a wedding in New Jersey. And this is for the friend that I went on a bachelor party for, my friend Noah. And it was very fun seeing one of my best friends get married, and also being a groomsman was amazing. And I'm very happy for him and his wife, Melissa. I wish them nothing but the best. And I had a great time at the wedding. When I came home from the wedding, that was when I really started to job search. The thing is, I had been job searching for like months before, like maybe starting like August, because I already knew I'm going to get laid off. But I really started to take time every day to, job search. Since I'm unemployed, I have more free time, so I have more time for myself. And I filmed a day in the life of me being unemployed video, and that video did a lot better than I thought, because as of today, it has over 10,000 views, and I was like, oh, dang, I didn't think this many people are going to watch this. And I started to get some traction. I started to get more views and subscribers here on the channel, and I'm very appreciative of that. And I told myself, I have this momentum, I should keep it going. So shortly after, I told myself I'm going to post every day for 30 days straight. So while I'm, doing my job searching, I'm also spending time every day either filming, editing, or coming up with new video ideas. And it kind of felt like a job in itself. So I did that, and, I was, getting good views on videos, and it was keeping me occupied, and I got a sense of accomplishment from doing that. So that's why I really enjoy doing it. So that's how November went. And finally, we are at December, the last month of 2025. So I'll try to keep this one pretty short, but earlier this week, I got a job offer, and I accepted the job offer. And I got the job offer before Christmas, so it felt nice. It was like an early Christmas gift, and I got to go into the holidays not being as stressed out. So that was nice. And, I was, this past week I've been doing a lot of stuff with my family, and it's fun, but honestly, it's also a bit overwhelming for me. And today is the day where like I'm just here in my apartment, like I'm not home, I'm not with my family right now, and it was a much needed break. I just needed some time for myself, and I also just needed time to like film some videos today. So, but overall, I'm spending a lot of time with my family, and it's been really fun, and I value my family a lot, and it's been fun. And I've been very consistent with my steps. I've been doing 10,000 steps every single day. I'm behind schedule today. Currently, I'm at 6,000 steps, and it's 6:30 p.m. right now, so I need to walk for probably like another 40 minutes, but I will get it done today. So, yeah, December has been good. I got the job offer, and I'm going to go into the new year with a new job. Okay. This has been recording for over 59 minutes now. So this is how my year went. I will say, overall, it's been okay, because there was a lot of things that happened to me this year that were not that great. Things that happened that made me a bit unhappy. But this is why I did this video. This is why I wanted to do this. I wanted to take the time to acknowledge and understand that, yes, there were things this year that sucked, but there was also good things that happened to me this year. So, yes, overall, it was an okay year. I'd give it maybe like if I had to rate it out of 10, I'd give it maybe like a 6, 7. So yeah, that's how my year went. I'm glad that I did this. And if you happen to still be watching / listening to me right now, please feel free to leave a comment. It could be literally about anything. Just comment whatever you want. Because I'm curious to see how many people watched / listened to this whole thing of me talking for now over an hour. So if you are still watching or listening, please drop a comment. Okay. My throat is starting to hurt. I need some water. I need to pee. And I also need to walk. So with that, I am going to finally end the video here. I appreciate you for watching and listening to hearing me talk about how my year went. And here's to hoping that 2026 will be a little bit better.